flow.
Welcome to episode 153 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. He's Lepore, I'm Bruno. Thank you so much for listening and watching us on YouTube as well. The boys are back. And I don't just mean the Leafs. We're back because we were on a bit of a hiatus over the summer. I hope you all enjoyed your summer. But we are officially back in action here for GFP episode 153. And we have a lot to talk about because the Leafs have officially opened training camp. There were a ton of media availabilities, and we have a lot to break down. Nick Robertson re-signed. The Leafs have brought in Max Pacioretty. William Nylander is playing center. So we are going to give you our thoughts and opinions on everything going down with the Leafs right now as they prepare for the upcoming season. But before we get into all that, it is time to officially welcome in my partner in crime, Mr. Michael Lepore. How you doing, man?
Anthony Bruno, I missed you, man. It's like there was a void in my life. Something was wrong. Something was wrong when I woke up every morning. I just missed Anthony Bruno too much. Those watching on YouTube can see how absolutely terrible my background is. And the regular viewers know that I take a lot of pride in the junk that's behind me, typically on a podcast. But the wife and I went through a move, and we're still in the process of getting everything in, setting everything up. But I promise to all the fans out there that it won't look this terrible for very much longer. I'll do everything I can to have a set that you guys deserve on the GFP podcast.
Yeah, Lepore, you always have an A+ set, but honestly, this set still might be better than my original set.
Yeah,
so,
your basement dungeon.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But let's just dive right into this, man, because we have not talked to GFP Nation in a long ass time. And we got to talk about training camp opening for the Leafs earlier this week. Listen, you can start wherever the heck you want with this. Wherever you want to go, whether it's Pacioretty, Robertson, what stands out to you right now is the number one story for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
The number one story to me will be what the lines are. You mentioned in the intro, William Nylander starting training camp at center. It's like, well, that's something. Who are going to be his wingers? Is John Tavares now going to be a third line center, or is he moving to the wing? And then there's all these little question marks with the Leafs. Like, okay, Robertson, where is he going to be? Matthew Nyes, really, he's not really cemented to anywhere. If Pacioretty can be on this team and make the lineup, well, where's he going to go? So I think it's exciting rather than just going into the season and kind of knowing how everything is going to be and how the lines are going to look. So I just think it's that overall. I think it's like, what is this team going to look like? Even like Mitch Marner, like, are they going to play together because of Nylander center? Then what happens there? Domi. Where's Domi going to end up? We saw he did really well last year when he was playing with elite talent after a shitty start when he wasn't. So to me, it's that. Like, I'll be keeping a close eye on training camp, and I can't say I say that very often, but that's the thing that stood out for me the most.
Yeah, because even though this team is running it back with all of the same core players, there's still a lot that has to be sorted out. So I'm kind of in the same boat as you. It's interesting to see how all of this is going to play out because obviously Berube is in here, new head coach. They all talked about how hard the first practice was. Like, apparently, like even Ryan Reeves was saying it was like the hardest practice he's ever had.
Really?
Basically, like in his NHL career. So he said Berube has set the tone. We'll see if everybody buys in. I mean, who knows? It's too early to say if everyone's buying in. It's like the first practice they've all had. But yeah, I mean, listen, I love that Nylander's playing center. To me, that is the number one story right now. And we talked about this last year. And I thought that I was kind of on an island last year when I brought this up. And I said, listen, like Nylander should be a centerman on this team. He's too good not to play center. He's fast. He's strong. He can distribute. He can score. He can really do it all. And clearly, it seems not that they're phasing out John Tavares. It just seems like, I mean, they kind of are phasing out John Tavares. I don't know if he's going to be back after his contract expires, but if they're going to move forward with Matthews and Nylander as the 1-2 punch at center, then it's just going to be about who the hell are playing on the wings, as you said, like Robertson. Last year, Nick Robertson was second on the team in 5-on-5 goals per 60 minutes behind Austin Matthews. He obviously requested a trade over the summer, but now he's back. Is he going to slot into the top 6? Max Pacioretty coming off a torn Achilles twice. He said that he feels extremely strong. He says he feels basically as strong as he did before his injury. I don't know if he's full of shit, but where does he slot in? Does he end up on a line with Matthews and Marner? Does he end up in a bottom 6 role? And then obviously seeing what happens with the decor, Chris Tanev. How's he going to look playing on that top pair with Morgan Rielly? So there's a lot going on, but to me right now, the big story is Nylander playing center. I love it. I think he's built to play center, even though he had a career year last year on the wing. And I'm very excited to see where this thing goes.
Do you have that fear at all about his like defensive abilities? I mean, because with center comes more responsibility, and like I'm excited too. I think as a fanboy, it's like, wow, Nylander center, that's new, fun, and exciting. It's like a shiny new toy, but at the same time, like he's got some deficiencies there. I don't know if that's really been a talking point among Leafs media, but it definitely popped in my head.
That's a fair point. He's not known as being a great defensive player, but I think honestly with Nylander, he's so talented that it just comes down to like effort with him. As simple as that sounds. I think if Berube is going to drill it in him from day one, being like, listen, man, I'm giving you more responsibilities last year. We all know that you were almost a 100-point player. You signed a massive contract. Now you're going to fucking do it all for this team. No more just coasting up and down the wings and worrying about offense. And not that he was just worrying about offense before, but now, like, I think Berube's really going to dial this guy in. At least I'm hoping he will. And I'm hopeful that Nylander is going to react well to this. I think he's talented enough to play center, and I think it's going to work out because listen, as much as everyone defends John Tavares and talks about how he's still a point per game player, he can't skate anymore. If he's going to be your third line center, I mean, I guess I'm fine with that, but I mean, I just love the idea of having Matthews and Nylander as a 1-2 punch down the middle.
Who are your ideal line mates in the Anthony Bruno hockey scope brain for William Nylander?
That is a great question.
It's tough, eh?
I think like any of those guys fighting for top six jobs are going to be good fits. The first person who sticks out to me is Max Pacioretty.
Really? Okay.
I know there's people who are saying, don't worry about Pacioretty. Like he's here on a professional tryout agreement. He's coming off 2 torn Achilles. He scored 4 goals last season in like 43 games. But if we're going to believe Pacioretty, and I listened to his entire media availability, he said in the summer, he said in June when he was training in the gym, like there were some scary days where he felt like shit and he felt like, oh my God, I'm never going to get my strength back to how I felt before these injuries. But he said now he is in a perfect place mentally. He's in the best place physically that he has felt in a long time. So if this guy is strong and healthy, and I don't know, even 75% of what he used to be, you're telling me this guy can't slot into the top 6 on a line with either Matthews or Nylander? I think he can, man. I know there's a long way to go here as training camp has just started, but I don't know. I have this gut feeling that Pacioretty is gonna crack this top 6. I really do.
You're bullish on Pacioretty, man.
If I had not listened to his media availability and heard him talk about how strong he feels and how good he feels, then I probably would have not been as bullish. And man, oh man, maybe I'm drinking a little bit too much of the Pacioretty Kool-Aid here, but he sounded like super confident, man. I really think he's here to prove something. And that was another thing he mentioned is like, you know, he had to prove it to himself. He wanted to do everything in his power. Like he said that him and his family traveled basically all over the world to see like the best doctors to figure out how he can rehab and get back to his former self. And his family made a ton of sacrifices. And he felt like playing in Toronto would be a great fit, not only because of the great players here, but, you know, obviously he played in Montreal for so long. He was the captain there. And he said that he has no problem handling this market. So I'm super bullish on him, man. Let's go. Max Pacioretty and Lepore. Where's number 67? So cue the jokes or have the stars aligned here? Have the stars aligned with Max Pacioretty?
In my group chat today, I wrote Pacioretty's wearing 67 to training camp. Lock it in. Stanley Cup overtime winner. Breakaway. Bar down.
It's time for a quick break for a word about Manscaped. Fellas, do you want your grooming routine to be a one and done deal? Well, the days of using the same trimmer for your face and your private parts are over, thanks to our friends at Manscaped. They've come up with the ultimate package to keep your hairs trim from 12 to 6. Introducing the Beard and Balls Bundle, featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger, a trimmer for the moneymaker, and another for the boys downstairs. So get 20% off and free shipping using our exclusive code GFP20 at manscaped.com. Lepore, Manscaped coming through in the clutch once again.
Bruno, I can't say I've ever used the same trimmer on my face that I use on my balls, but apparently there are people out there who do, because Manscaped saw the need to do it. So if you are one of those people, don't waste any time. Go get the bundle. Keep that face clean. Keep your balls clean. Manscaped.com, promo code GFP20 for 20% and free shipping.
Gentlemen, don't be a damn farm animal. I mean, for the love of God, if you're using the same razor on your balls as you are on your face, I mean, come on. You're better than that. So head to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping using our exclusive code GFP20. That is code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. It's time for an important message from BetterHelp, a sponsor of today's episode. Sometimes in life, we go through difficult times, whether that's personally, whether that's in a relationship, and your mental health cannot be ignored. And a lot of times, you can't tackle these situations by yourself. You need help. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. They make therapy easier and much less intimidating for a lot of people. BetterHelp lets you have therapy sessions as a phone call, video chat, or even messaging, whatever is most comfortable for you. BetterHelp will connect you with one of 30,000 therapists in their network, and in most cases, you'll be connected with a therapist within 48 hours. So go to betterhelp.com/GFP for 10% off your first month of therapy. Lepore, this service is incredible.
It is incredible. Anthony Bruno, mental health is something that's very serious, and be aware, if you're going through a dark time, you do not have to try to beat this thing alone. There are services out there that can provide you with some great help. BetterHelp is number one when it comes to that. As Bruno mentioned, there are different ways you can get in touch with people, different ways you can contact people. It's all up to you. Go to betterhelp.com/GFP.
Join 4 million people who have used BetterHelp to live healthier and happier lives. So go to betterhelp.com/GFP for 10% off your first month of therapy to connect with a therapist and see if BetterHelp is right for you.
But okay, let's play a game then, Anthony Bruno. Let's go through these guys. Let's go through these wingers, and let's take a guess at how many. I want to hear how many goals you think each guy is going to score. Okay, so we'll start at the top with Pacioretty. You have your guess. How many goals is Pacioretty going to score this year?
I will say 21 goals.
What? Okay, I'm going to go 8.
8 goals? Okay, so you think he's going to be like a bottom 6 guy? He might not even crack the roster as far as you're concerned.
I think he's a bottom 6 guy not playing, and maybe I've just seen this story before. Like it's almost as if the Leafs, have we never done this thing where we get like old guys who are past their prime and it doesn't work out? That seems to be our trend.
Tale as old as time with the Leafs.
Yeah, so I don't know. I am not optimistic about that one. I am about other guys though. So let's move on. Robertson. How many goals does Robertson score?
Okay, well, he scored 14 last year in 56 games, was second on the team in 5-on-5 goals per 60. I'm going to say he cracks the 20 goal mark as well. I mean, maybe it's like, maybe I'm out of my mind. Like the entire team is going to crack the 20 goal mark as far as I'm concerned, but I will say I'll say he scores 22 goals this year.
See, I'm higher on Robo. I think he's gonna hurt us. I think the situation they're in is kind of a win-win for everyone. He gets to play. He's gonna get a shot. The team got him, and as far as a contract goes, it's up to him. I mean, either he's gonna light it up and get re-signed, or he's gonna get traded to a place where he's gonna play. I got 26 goals for
Wow. Okay. So you're really high on Robertson.
I think he's gonna score. Yeah, I mean he's one of those guys. I mean he's a Cy Young guy. So I'm picturing like 26 goals, 18 assists, or something like
Well,
that.
probably less
But
assists
I
than
see the
that.
potential in a man. Moving on, Matthew Nyes, who apparently put on some weight. People are excited about him.
So this is the last guy I'm probably going to say is going to crack the 20 goal mark of like all this, the complementary players, because he's now he's technically in year 2. Last year was actually his rookie season, even though we saw him the year before. So I believe he scored 15 last year. He's a guy, Lepore. I'm not quite sure. Like, I know I'm super bullish on Pacioretty now, but it just seems like one of Nyes, Pacioretty, and Robertson, or maybe two of the three, are going to kind of get the short end of the stick potentially and not get as much ice time as we think. Now, if Nyes is actually going to play in the top 6, coming into his second year in the league, I think he for sure cracks the 20 goal mark. I'm going to say he scores 24 goals this season. So I
Oh,
have them all
wow.
basically scoring 20, but I'm probably going to be wrong on at least one of them, because one of them is probably not going to end up in the role I think they are, and not going to get the ice time I think they're going to get.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Nyes at 19.
Okay.
I say he falls 1 goal short of 20. I think like his style of play. I mean, 19 goals, a lot of goals. You play in the NHL and score 19 goals. But I'll just say he's more of he uses his size. He's going to be that guy. I'll say 19 goals. This is a fun one, Bruno. This is a fun one. I'm intrigued to know your answer. Alex Nylander, how many goals did he score for the Toronto Maple Leafs this year?
Okay, he's definitely not going to score 20 goals, even though he had some nice numbers with Columbus last season.
Bananas shooting percentage. Yeah.
11 goals in 23 games with the Blue Jackets last season. So he's a guy who I don't even know if he's going to crack the roster. Whereas I'm a lot more confident, obviously, in those other guys cracking the roster. Alex Nylander is a guy who has bounced around the league, even though he was a first round pick. I just don't think he's going to get the opportunity. Listen, it's a great story. He gets to potentially play with his brother. They're best friends. Like it's an amazing story, and I hope it works out. But I'm going to say he scores like 10 goals.
Yeah, 10's not bad.
Yeah.
10's not bad. I'm bullish on him. I think things are gonna work out for him in Toronto. I think he's kind of gonna become like a fan favorite because I mean everyone's rooting for him. I'm gonna say 14.
Okay.
14.
I actually like that. I like that.
Yeah, 14 goals for Nylander. Should we do Domi? That's a weird
Yeah,
one.
let's do Domi because he for sure isn't scoring 20 goals. He's like the opposite of a Cy Young contender. He's like the guy pitching on the worst team in baseball, where he's going to score like 7 goals and get like 40 assists. Honestly, I'll say 11 goals for Max Domi. Yeah, that might even be too high for him.
Yeah. I'll say 13.
Okay.
13 max. Yeah. Not the best.
He's just not a goal scorer. We love Domi, but the guy's just not a goal scorer.
Yeah. He might clean up some garbage if he ends up with Matthews, but yeah, I'm not overly bullish. I'm kind of nervous about Max. He signed that deal. There's term. He had a slow start last year. If that happens again, the knives could come out.
And now like he's comfortable, right? As you said, he signed the deal, whereas last year it was a 1-year deal. He had to prove himself. Now he's kind of locked in. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, he must be happy. Like I always say, guys are gonna play well when they're happy. When they're miserable, they're not. He's in his hometown. It's where he wants to be. Again, the type of personality and character he is. I think he's an easy target too. Like the knives will come out.
Oh yeah, I mean, if he gets off to a slow start, I mean, we all know like Marner is like the number one scapegoat. It's usually a defenseman who becomes the scapegoat on this team as well. But yeah, Domi, if he does the same thing he did last year, I can't remember how many goals he had after the first like 50 games. Like it was pathetic.
Like 4 or something.
Yeah, if he does that again, people are going to be like, what the hell is going on with this guy?
Yeah.
Is there anyone else on the list that you wanted to get to? Any of those wingers?
I don't know. Bobby McMahon. Who else we got?
That's an interesting one. I don't think he's going to score 20. I'd be happy if he scores like 15 or 16. I think that's definitely realistic.
That's the number. 15. I think Bobby McMahon. That's where he'll slot in.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, listen, we could be totally wrong. Like, ask us in a week from now when maybe some of the roles get solidified here and we see some of the lines that Berube is putting together a training camp. Um, but I'm big on the Max Pacioretty train right now. I think he's going to get a good opportunity, and we'll see what happens. So outside of that, Lepore, I mean, the other thing, I don't even know if you want to talk about like Yanni Hockenpah. I mean, or this decor.
Oh man,
We can briefly
man.
talk about the decor. Like, I love that Tanev is here. I talked about Oliver Ekman Larson and how much I liked that signing as well during our free agency episode. I think it's going to be a solid decor. Is it a top 6 to 8 decor in the league? No, I don't think so, but I think it's a good enough decor to be a serious team. I'll say that.
Yeah, I want Hockenpah to stay healthy so bad. Like he's not like YouTube hero right now where you look him up and it's all big hits and him being a total piece of shit. And I love it. Getting in people's faces, being an asshole, being semi dirty. I want to see him work out because we have not had that. So stay healthy. And I'm pretty confident about it based on the process this went through with regard to him finally getting signed. I would guess because it took so long, the Leafs looked at every little nook and cranny of possibilities here with regard to his body and what could possibly happen. So I want so bad. I want so bad for him to work out because, like I said, like we're getting a little depth with that type of personality. I'd be really excited.
Yeah, Hockenpah's a beast, man. Like, just go check his measurables. This dude is 6'7", 222 pounds. And yeah, he's literally out there to hit people and be a piece of shit, which is exactly what this
Mm.
decor needs. And it's exactly what Brad Treliving loves in a defenseman. Is Yanni Hockenpah going to come here and save the day? Absolutely not. But to have him as a sixth defenseman, as a seventh defenseman, depending on his health, not a bad spot to be in. Like, the Leafs' defensive depth is actually low key, like pretty solid at the moment. Remains to be seen what's going to happen with Connor Timmins. But yeah, right now the decor is actually looking pretty decent, man. Like, I don't think people should be like complaining about this decor. Obviously, all the money's up front, and yeah, would it be nice to have maybe one more stud back there? But I think all things considered, it's actually a pretty decent decor.
Yeah, that's what the deadline's for. Hopefully, maybe all. But
Exactly.
yeah, but I think objectively though, on paper, is this the best decor of the Matthews era?
That's a good question. I'd
I
have
think
to like
so.
rack my brain and look at some of the other decors, but honestly, I think I don't know if it's the best decor, but it's solid, man. That's the word that comes to mind, is solid.
It's deep.
It's solid, it's deep. There's veterans, professionals. There's not anyone on this decor that you're gonna like be, what the fuck are they doing? And sure, maybe Morgan Riley has some of those moments, but Morgan Riley has the puck more than any of these defensemen. Um, and I still think he is the Leafs' best defenseman. Maybe Chris
Mm.
Tanev's gonna prove us wrong here. But yeah, fuck, I think it's right up there, man. It's just, again, the word that sticks out to me is solid. It is a solid, experienced, professional defense core.
Is Topi Niemela ever going to make this team? Like, where
Probably
are we with
not.
that?
I can't remember. Isn't he like 5'9" or 5'10"?
He's not big.
He's
Yeah, he's
really
not
small.
big.
That is not a Brad Living defenseman, and does not strike me as a Craig Berube defenseman either.
Mm, trade
So
bait.
yeah, I mean, I think he could be in trouble in terms of his future with this team. Kind of like Rasmus Sandin, honestly.
Yeah, well, trade bait. We can get something for him. Like, I don't know, maybe at the deadline, someone wants to take a shot on him. He wasn't the MVP of the World Juniors. He won like best defenseman. I think it was a
I
few years
believe he
back.
did. We went through like a run where like there were so many Leafs that were winning those awards at the World Juniors, and I'm like, holy shit, this team is loaded. Our prospects are incredible, and then like none of them became good,
Yeah.
and and yeah, so it's made me kind of rethink anytime anytime one of your prospects does well at the World Juniors, it might not mean as much as you think.
Who is that? Who is that super Italian kid for the States? Was it Bracco? Was that his
Oh,
name?
Jeremy Bracco,
Jeremy
yeah, who racked up a
Bracco.
ton of assists in junior, and everyone thought he was like the next Mitch Marner.
Yeah, was he not the second rounder the Matthews year? I think he was our second round
I
pick.
believe he was a second rounder.
Yeah, there was high expectations for him.
Yeah, we've talked about this so many times how everyone just overvalues their team's prospects. Like they
Hmm.
just think that their prospects are the best prospects. The same thing is I feel like everyone talks about Fraser Minten in this way as well. Like everyone thinks that he's like this incredible, like future third line shutdown center. This guy hasn't done a fucking thing in the NHL. Again, he might make the team. Like that's another conversation we can have is like the Fraser Minten, Easton Cowan conversation. Like, are any of those guys going to crack the roster?
Well, Minton got hurt the other night, against Montreal.
That's right. That's right. He is injured right now. That's a
High
good
ankle
point.
sprain.
Not
Not
good.
good.
That's not good at
Not
all.
good. Not the one you want to hear. But yeah, from what I've watched of him, I'm the same. Like I don't really see it. Like you can see some talent, and that's why he was picked. But where the special guys are, they dominate. They take games over, or what I say is they look really good their 18-year-old year. Like Marner. Like Marner was a huge impact on that World Junior team, the one that lost to it was Liney's Finland, but he was 18. So like that's when you can see, okay, no, we got something here. But like Minton, like watching him, I don't know. He doesn't. I haven't seen him take over the way I would like to see a prospect take over, especially when some people are calling him your best prospect. I think Easton Cowan has that belt now, but people were pretty excited about Minton last year.
Yeah, especially with the injury that you mentioned to Minton, like it's probably going to be impossible for him to crack the opening night roster. I haven't seen it yet from him either. I know people are excited about him, but I think it's been a little bit overblown. So yeah, I'm not too bullish on Minton. Maybe I'm going to eat my words on that. With Easton Cowan, he's very intriguing because we haven't really seen him in like a pro setting. He's obviously been in junior last year. Like he was incredible in junior last year. He had the point streak, ended up with 96 points in 54 games, 34 points in 18 playoff games. Like he was a monster last year for the London Knights, but he hasn't really had a taste of pro hockey. So I think he's going to be um, simmering down before he gets an opportunity to actually, like, I don't think he's going to crack the roster either. But who knows? He could surprise people. Like he's 19 years old now. He seems to be like, from what I've heard, just from like, media availabilities and things like that from like Berube, they say he's super strong, he's committed, great attitude and head on his shoulders. Like he wants to make the team. I just don't know if it's realistic at this point.
Yeah, how is it possible that they haven't put in, and we had this discussion when Marner was coming into the league, how have they not put through some sort of exceptional status rule for the AHL where you can put a 19-year-old in the AHL? Like, here's this kid who, like you said, absolutely dominated junior hockey last year, absolutely dominated. And he's in that no man's land of, well, is it going to hurt his development for him to go back to junior league? He was dominating 1 year younger. So it boggles my mind that they haven't come up with some sort of exceptional status rule where in a situation like this, the Leafs can put him in the AHL. And you mentioned his personality. Man, they'll ask the players like 20 questions or whatever, and they get questions like, "What's your favorite food? Like, where would you go on vacation?" And they ask them all, if you weren't a hockey player, what would you be? I mean, like the answer is like, "Oh, I'd be a rock star. I'd be a movie star," like that type of stuff. It gets to Easton Cowan, and he just looks in the camera, shrugs his shoulders, and says, I'm from Saskatchewan. My grandfather was a farmer. My dad, and like I just love like the real world modesty in him, and it's kind of nice to see like that type of personality, but to see that kind of old school grind in a kid that you don't really get in the hockey world anymore.
Yeah, he's like the opposite of a prima donna. Like I think he's going to be such a good pro when he
Yeah.
finally gets his opportunity. He's just going to be like I could see him having like a 15-year career in the NHL. And
Oh,
again,
big time.
maybe we completely eat our words on that, but he just strikes me as someone who's going to continue to get better and better. Yeah, it's not going to be great if he goes back to junior because he's got nothing to really prove there. And not that he was like the best player by a mile in junior, but it's like, he's just going to be chilling down there and I mean, I don't know what else he's going to do. It's unfortunate that he can't play in the AHL right now, but yeah, I cannot see him cracking the opening night roster unless he just goes absolutely ballistic at training camp. So we'll see. Um, Other than that, Lepore, maybe we should get into some contract talk here, because, and I feel like we talk
Sure.
about this on every episode, but Mitchell Marner is obviously still without a contract. He's not focusing on it. He made that clear during his availability that he's going to focus on playing hockey. He's going to let his agent, Darren Ferris, deal with that with Leafs GM Brad Treliving. So typical player speak when they are without a contract. So how are you feeling about this Marner situation? I would still love for him to sign an 8-year extension. Again, I feel like I've been on an island at times wanting this guy to come back. But I think it's going to end up in an 8-year extension. I'm hoping it's probably the same number as Nylander. I hope he doesn't get too greedy, but I think it's all going to get settled and he's going to sign an 8-year deal. No, you're shaking your head.
Bruno, I don't think there's a chance in hell he signs for the Nylander deal. I don't think there's a chance in hell. Put in perspective, Bruno, he's making just under a shade under 11 million now, a $500,000 raise. I mean, you could argue he's overpaid the first time, but his number, I don't know, man. I think his camp's sitting there and they're going to do the right thing on their end. They're going to play out the season. And we've all read the stories about how he's training with McKinnon and Crosby and how he's ready to go. Marner's going to have an unbelievable season. And I'm not even going to say whether I want this or not, but if it is an 8-year deal, I'm thinking like 12.5, 12.75 is what I'm thinking he's going to ask for.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that is pretty realistic when you break it down like that. How about if he doesn't have a great start to the season? How about if he's only like hovering around a point per game, which is still great, but not great for Mitch Marner? Like, this is a guy that, typically plays at like 1.2 points per game. How about if, maybe the goals aren't going in at the same rate? Because Nylander, he got off to a ridiculous start last year and then signed his deal. But who knows? Like, if let's say Marner's only like through the first 30 games, Lepore, he only has like 34 points, which it's still a lot, but it's not the clip he usually scores at. Like, then what?
Then it'll get exciting. It'll get interesting. But he's gonna wait. He might as well wait because I mean he's gonna get the huge contract regardless. Like we can talk about numbers, but whether it's with the Leafs or with another team, he's gonna get a huge contract. So even if it's him, even if he doesn't have the best regular season, what if he's gonna say, well, what if I have an amazing playoff? What if I have an unreal playoff where in 2 rounds, I don't know, 12 games, he puts up like 20 points or something, then what? Then how's it going to be judged? So it's up to him. He's got the leverage. When I say he's got the leverage, I mean he's got the leverage with regard to his play will dictate it, right? But even if Marner ends up with like 90 points this year and the Leafs go in the first round and whatever, and they don't re-sign him, he's still going to get like someone's going to give him like 11 and a half somewhere on an 8-year deal. It fucking cost us last year with Nylander. Like he was a man possessed last year when he came out of the gate. Like unreal. Never seen him like that. Every single shot was going in for him. That we paid Nylander his contract. So I'm scared, man. I'm scared for it because I think he's gonna do what Nylander did. And I think he's got a higher ceiling than Nylander with regard to production. And there's the other things like killing penalties and his defensive play. I'm worried. And I don't really know. Is that again, this is why the cap is ridiculous because here we are, Bruno. Here's a guy on our team, one of our highest paid players, star player. And here we are. If someone said, guys, Marner's going to put up 121 points, we'd be like, fuck. That'd be our
We're
reaction.
Actively rooting against one of the best players on our favorite team. It's pathetic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the world we live in. And that's where we're at with him. So it's like you want what's best for the team and you want everyone to do well. And I guess with all that, the dream situation is he signs soon and just says, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. But based on what he's shown us before, based on his agent, I'm not optimistic, Bruno, that this is going to be clean. It's going to be, I think, it's one extreme or the other. It's going to be mediocre for him and we're just waiting. or he's going to start out like a fucking freight train and we're going to make him like the third or fourth highest paid player in the league.
Yeah, even though that would be great for the team and they'd probably be first place in the division if he comes out and just absolutely tears it up the first couple months. It's not going to be great for this team's salary cap moving forward because he's going to ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars. If he does get off to a slow start, I do agree with you. Like if he only has like a point per game through the first 30, at that point, he's probably just going to wait it out until the end of the season and kind of see what happens and then reevaluate. But listen, I think he wants to be here. All of his roots are here. His family's here. His friends are here. I think he loves being a Toronto Maple Leaf. And as much as everyone wants to run him out of town, I don't think you should just be getting rid of your best players, as simple as that sounds. I feel like I have to preach every single time I'm on this podcast. All the people want to run this guy out of town. Even if he does start asking for an outrageous amount of money, and listen, maybe it gets to the point where it's like, okay, Mitch, calm the fuck down here. We're not giving you $14 million a year. But I think anything between like 11 and 12.5, 12.7, the Leafs are probably just going to have to do it. Unless they just say, fuck this, we're blowing up the core four. And I just don't see that happening outside of John Tavares, who I don't think is going to be back. And I've talked
What's
about
the
this
number
as well.
you'd give him on a 4-year deal like Matthews?
Fuck. If he wants to sign a 4-year deal, I'm going to be so pissed off. I'm going to be so pissed. It's got to be less than Matthews.
Well, clearly.
Like, I don't know. If it's a 4-year deal, Jesus, 12.5?
12.5, Bruno, 12.5. Then what do you think he's getting if he gets an 8-year deal?
I know. That's the
like I was going to
thing.
say like 11.75, something like that.
And listen, Lepore, we were talking a little bit about this before we came on today. That Draisaitl contract just pissed me off even more. And I know Draisaitl is now the highest paid player in the NHL, but it was just so obvious that he was going to sign an 8-year extension because every star around the league signs an 8-year extension. And you know what? At $14 million a year, I think Edmonton got a little bit of a deal there, even though he's the highest paid player in the league. He could have asked for like 15, 16 million, if not more. And then here we go again. Matthews, 4-year extension. Now you're bringing up Marner, potential 4-year extension. I mean, holy shit. Is it just the Leafs? It's driving me insane. Even if you look at, listen, I know they're not on the same tier, but these Detroit guys who just signed, Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, 8-year extensions. But with the fucking Leafs, it's a completely different story, and it just continues to piss me off.
Yeah, I mean, it's where we live in, because the irony about it and what's such a piss off is you look at the situation that our players are in, and as a fan, it's fucking devastating because Toronto is the best place to play. And when I say that, I'm not saying that because, it's Toronto and it's the Maple Leafs. It's like, no, you get whatever you want. The players run the show. It's like it's the NBA in Toronto, but it's not everywhere else in the National Hockey League. And it's frustrating as fuck. And with Marner, I don't know, man. Like, it's going to take some balls with him. Like, we know Matthews. We know his personality. He's different. But with Marner, again, Mitch, if you sign like a 4-year deal, do you want to deal with that criticism? Like, don't you want people to like you? Like, to me, that's what's so confusing about the whole Marner thing. Like, if I was him, I would want to sign something fair now. Like, let's get it done. It's my last big contract. Let's not nickel and dime it. I don't want to be thinking about it during the season and me getting asked every press conference about it. Let's get it done. Let's get a fair deal and let's move on. But no, it's like almost like he's trying to get Leafs Nation to hate him. And maybe by the time we post this tomorrow, Marner signed an extension. But I'm confused. I'm confused by how these players are treated in the blue and white, and how it just seems to be different in Toronto than every other franchise in the National Hockey League.
Even Sidney Crosby, for that matter. I know Sid's older now and he's on his, he's at the end of his career, but holy shit, he signed another extension for $8.75 million. He's still one of the best players in the world.
Scored 40 goals, Bruno.
Like, for all of you who think that Crosby's fallen off and just because the Penguins kind of suck, like, he's still elite. Like Sidney Crosby could easily be making 10, 11, 12 million dollars a year.
Easy.
And he signed for 8.75 again.
Yeah.
Again. Or 8.7. Was it 8 points? I think it was 8.7.
It's 8.7. Did you see that thing?
Flat.
You see that thing? It's his 19th year at 8.7. So 1987.
He's just 87 with everything, that dude. But yeah, it's just, and you know, everyone talking about, oh, Kyle Dubas, he can actually sign someone to a reasonable contract and doesn't get taken to the woodshed by his best players. Well, doesn't it help when your players aren't greedy a-holes?
Yeah.
And listen, I love all the Leafs star players, but I mean, for the love of God, when there is a pattern happening with just your team and the rest of the league is not doing the same thing, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be pissed off because I see every star player around the league, every cornerstone player signing an 8-year extension, signing a team-friendly deal, thinking about winning. The Leafs, not the case.
Nope.
Anyway, is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap up this podcast?
No, I think it was a good return, Bruno. I think that was a pretty good return. And now we can get into the full swing of things as training camp moves on. Toronto and Montreal should be good. Pacioretty, it's kind of like a nice welcome back. He gets the Guy Lafleur standing ovation for like 15 minutes, right, Patches? Canadians fans, what do you think?
Oh, that's going to be a great return to Montreal when Pacioretty's on the first line with Matthews and Marner. Oh, baby, let's go. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, that is going to do it for episode 153 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. We will be here leading up to the season. We have a lot more content coming your way. We're going to go over everyone's season point totals heading into the season, as we do every single year. Telling you if we think teams are going to go over or under their Vegas projected point totals. So it's always one of my favorite episodes that we do every year. And we'll be following all the news from Leafs training camp and around the NHL as we gear up for the season. But before we close it out, as I say on every episode, if you really enjoyed it, whether you're a first-time listener or a long-time listener, it would do us wonders if you give us a 5-star rating and review on either Apple or Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube and you really enjoyed the content, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and ring the notification bell so you know exactly when the GFP podcast is posting some new content. So for Michael Lepore, I'm Anthony Bruno. Enjoy the rest of training camp. If people are really following it on a day-to-day basis, enjoy the preseason, I guess, and we'll chat very, very soon.